Well, again, we want to welcome you guys. Thank you guys so much for joining us on our Pro Spotlight webinar. My name, if you don't know who I am, is Casey Taylor. I am one of our customer training specialists here at JobTread. And what today is, if you have not joined us for one of our Pro Spotlights, it is our Pro Spotlight where we're introducing you to some of our amazing users for our software. Some of the people that have spoken at our JobTread Connect conference that we have every year. It's our user conference. It's in January. We'll actually post those dates. We've announced the dates, but we'll post it and enable you guys to register soon enough. You'll be able to check that out on our website. But our presenter today, as well as our other Pro Spotlight presenters, were able to speak and present at our conference this last year. And so we've asked them to come back and share the wisdom that they shared with us at the conference here with you guys more broadly for anyone that wasn't able to make it, because the information is key. We can send you through trainings, but for you to be able to see it in practice within the context of an organization is really where you're going to see it shine, not just in a training or where we've been able to kind of tailor everything the way we want it. So I will just reiterate to you that what continues to make this software so special isn't just the functionality, it is this community, okay, of builders and businesses who use it. And the feedback and engagement that you guys provide to us is what helps really make JobTread what we believe to be, able to stand alone as the best construction management software on the market. And so today we wanted to highlight one of those customers who has gone above and beyond by sharing in our 2024 Connect conference. Ashley Favorite is the Vice President and Office Manager at Lakefront Building and Design out of Eagle River, Wisconsin. Thank you for being here with us today, Ashley. They have been customers with us. Lakefront has since 2023, and we are pumped to have them as a part of our JobTread family, but we're also excited that Ashley has agreed to share with us here today on the Pro Spotlight. One thing that I wanted to let you know, just as we kind of get in here, we're going to set some ground rules so that you kind of understand how this will run more smoothly, I would say. First and foremost, she's going to be answering questions. So we've got a Q&A box at the bottom of your chat. Somewhere in your Zoom, you'll see sort of two spaces to type. You'll see the chat, the meeting chat, and then you will also see this Q&A section. So if you have a question, you can put comments all throughout the chat. And in fact, Rachel will be there to answer some of the questions that you might have. She may even be answering some of the questions instead of Ashley, but if there are questions that we feel like are really great that you will type into the Q&A, not the chat, the Q&A, then at the end, I'll moderate some of that Q&A time and we'll send those questions to Ashley so that she's able to answer those. But that just kind of helps us get some, order to the presentation today and lets her sort of go through the presentation without sort of like kind of, trudging along through the questions and making sure that she can keep a train of thought. So, all right. So everybody good? Comments in the chat, questions in the Q&A, and we'll get to them at the end. So Ashley's presentation today is going to be called From Chaos to Clarity, Enhancing Project Management with Scheduling and ToDos. So everyone in the chat, please give a warm JobTread welcome to today's Pro Spotlight guest, our presenter today, Ashley Favorite. Throwing it over to you, Ashley.
All right, thank you. Hope everybody can hear me okay. I'm Ashley. I'm honored to be sharing with you today. I had the opportunity, as Casey said, to present this at Connect, and so really excited to be invited over here. I'm going to share more users. So, I love talking in person. This is my first webinar I've ever done. Out of the Android, so I like to talk with my hands, so I can only imagine what I'm going to look like in a week. My husband, Andrew, and I own Lakefront Building and Design. We are a custom home building company in Eagle River, Wisconsin, which is about 45 minutes from Lake Upper Michigan there. I'm sure you can hear it in my voice. I did that all the time too. We, just give you an idea of where we are located. We had a thunderstorm and a rain last night, a steep looping mid-while the dogs out, and this morning there was snow flurries. So it was fun seeing where everybody else did that. So I'll start off with backing up and explaining where we came from. We started the company in 2011, and I was actually not involved in the business very much at all. And my husband was primarily running things, and this is where the schedule primarily resided. right in his head. And I'm sure some of you can relate. It moved, started the big mess at some point to this problem. It worked a little bit in the beginning when things were smaller, that as we grew, it obviously gave no issue. So I have a little flip him here too. He sometimes would write down scraps of things on drywall. It was pieces of lumber coming across the desk at home. So we've got a lot going on that obviously doesn't gub it. As the business grew, I started becoming more involved in the books, and I started feeling the stress of not having systems in place. So I tried a variety of little calendars and things. So I had things hanging on the wall with lists. I tried giant annual calendars that we wrote no dry erase. That doesn't work either. Then we tried some Google Calendar. It was a little better, but super messy. None of these things worked. So we realized we needed a software, and we did try one other software before JobTread. It was okay, but it was not a great software. So we don't need to go into which one it was, but we stumbled across JobTread at IBS 2 years ago, and a few months later, we checked it out, and it has been the best thing we ever implemented. We signed up initially just to work on scheduling and then implement the other modules as we grew into it. But we loved how everything was, so we just decided to go on. So with that, my goal here today is to share how we use scheduling and ToDos at Lakefront. I understand there's a mix of experience in the audience. Some are current users and some are currently to JobTread. And I think a few of you are just checking out JobTread considering subscription. So whatever your situation, I'm guessing you're here because you want to improve your schedule in some way. So if you're in a chaos now, like we were at one time, I just want you to know that JobTread really can help you with your systems and pull things together. So if you have systems in place already, and maybe you're already using JobTread, hopefully you can end up doing that after today. All right. So my hope is that after listening to this, is that you can find one thing that you can do next week to improve the scheduling processes, and one thing to improve company processes using tools. And like Casey mentioned, if you have questions as I'm going through, please drop them into the chat, and hope we'll have enough time to focus some of those questions. And like you said, put them in the Q&A section. All right, so digging in, before we get into deep, it's important to understand the difference between the schedule module on JobTread and the to-dos module. Previously, I think it was last summer, they made a split. It used to be all in one called tasks, and it was really quite messy, actually. So it's very nice that they had the split. I like to think of the schedule module as the things, the tasks related directly to the jobs, the construction being completed. And the tasks are those to-do lists, or the to-dos are the more like the checklists, the things you need to do that don't necessarily impact the job schedule and maybe aren't related to a job at all, but they're still very important and need to keep track of these and keep them organized. So there's two main modules I'm going over to that. First, I'm going to cover the scheduling module. So it's important to know, so this is like a beginner session. That's how I presented it at Connect. And so I'm going to assume, even though we're coming in from different levels, and some of you are not users, I'm going to present as if you have maybe created a few tasks and you played with it a little bit, which you don't necessarily know everything about it. So if you are just checking out JobTread for the first time, don't get too logged down in what you don't know, and just consider this as like a sneak peek at what you would be able to dig into once you know. So when you're in the schedule module and you click on a task, a drawer will pull out. This section, these are called drawers, and you see those in many of the modules within the system. So I'm going to zoom in here. I did a little clip here to make it bigger. But every task has obviously a name and a description section. And I highly recommend that you use the description section to describe your processes. And it's not like a built-in template is the way I will get it. So for instance, this task will contain the final copies. I can pass this off to anybody to do and know exactly what needs to be done. Send to the copy center and request 2 copies. Here it says 1 set on pallet paper and the other. Like, I don't even need to tell anybody any more detail with all of it. Pretty easy. So I mean, some tasks have much longer descriptions. It's much more complicated. But and some things you'll need to your sports. It's just nice to have that section to use that way. It is also great if you aren't, even if you aren't passing off tasks, just so you don't have to hold it in your head and remember or think, how did I do that last time? It's all this right there so that it can be repeatable. All right. All tasks have task types. So this comes into play as being very important when you are customizing rules, and things like that. I'm going to skip ahead here and show you. Here's a list of our task types that we use at Lakefront. So this you'll understand more later when I show the different rules and customize everything. But this is how we break it down. This is not how we're going to be too rugby business is totally different. And I've seen a lot of, as I talk to more people, I see a lot of different ways to break it down. So yeah, that's how we do it. Every task has a start and an end date. You can also add time to that. There's duration, like these set baselines here. All tasks have assignees, but leave them spying people so they get notifications. The checklist feature is really nice. You even add several things. This is great for delegating to if we're letting multi-step tasks. I can fall from the one thing that you want to make sure that the parts get done. And there's dependencies you can set up. And of course, progress. There's schedule. And then you can attach files, copy files, the Padasso files. And then it doesn't show here, but there's messaging, which is super important. We use that a lot when you're main or trade partners. They see, making sure everybody runs going to. All right. So then that's a task. There's all the parts of the task. And then there's groups for organizing objects. So here's a screenshot. So this is a kind of a beta one. Spotlight custom home here. Wow. So in this, you can see I grabbed all the groups. I put everything under production. And then we have 3 main parts of the schedule: pre-construction, construction, closeout. So these are groups that you can create, and you can nest, I believe, 5 groups deep. And I dropped down pre-construction. Here are all tasks that we like to complete and track during, this is after the contract is signed. I have a whole pre-construction to-dos that I will go through later during this presentation. So this is just the contract's been signed and we're confirming everything before we get the goal. So that's pre-construction. And then construction, you see I have broken down into more groups. Obviously, and because there's so many more details to keep track of. So with pipe work, I saw rules, tasks, etc. So a lot of times I've seen where people are Googling they're grouping their schedule by trillions or types of tasks, like plumbing as a group or initiatives are a group or drywall as a group. But I would recommend grouping by phases of construction so that you get this nice, the Gantt kind of fold downward like this. And then it's easier to follow. It will group by the tasks, the types of tasks. You're going to have it's going to be hard to follow and read. You'll be going back and forth a lot. I would highly recommend using the task types to label and sort that well. I didn't see if whoever joined who also participated in the Connect session that I did. So I did add on a little bit more. I have some client tasks listing. Now, this is like a little bonus, I guess. But we decided we're trying it out. We're going to automate some tasks like reminders when ordering on selections with clients. So all of these ones with a little arrow, those are new from Connect. Just thought I'd mention. Okay. So then when you back in the tasks module, when you're going through, I want to touch on the navigation, your different buttons. So you can create a lot of different custom views based on the information you want to see. Openness and data. So in this drop down, you have personal views and organization views. I can convert any of these personal views to organization views, and that allows anyone in the organization and those mission levels to do that, to view those tasks. So just know that you can save a lot of the views. And how do you create the views is with your setting and it will choose how you want the chart to look when it's with the list. You can't. I'll go over that in a minute. You can filter by task types, who things are assigned to, and then you can save those different views. So I have a few different set up here. And then across the top here, there's a few I'd like to call out. There is something called an availability view. And then this calendar pops up here. This we do not use in our organization, but it's because our projects are longer term and the tasks is longer. If you have smaller quick turnaround projects where scheduling by the hour, this could be a feature that you want to check out to help make the session better. This other button here, I would recommend, it's a little bell icon. I would really highly recommend keeping it off. If it's on and you make changes, because we do little tweaks a lot to our icon when we're reviewing our schedule weekly. If you leave it on, it's going to send notifications to anyone with the change that is assigned to its boss. It's going to send them an automatic notification every time you click save. And the reason we don't want that is because I feel like if somebody, like a trade partner, is getting constant notifications of changes happening all the time, it's going to create like questioning the schedule. Is it right? If it's changing all the time, I'm just going to probably instead and figure out what it is. So we are very selective when we notify people of schedule updates. One thing we really like is a fairly new update is the paper airplane button. So this kind of has solved that problem. So with the paper airplane button, when we're ready to push our updates, we can click that and it will bring up a list of everybody assigned, and we can check who we want to be notified and then flip the button. So that works really, really well. Then the buttons along the top here, you can import. This is how I got this schedule brought into this job. I'll demonstrate that later, but you can import templates that you are saved. Or you can import from, like, let's say I share my template with you with CSV and bringing templates that will, we're bringing schedules that will. You can also export. Let's say you made this really awesome schedule. You can export in a variety of ways, but the most useful way I would say would be saving as a template in your catalog to use it. So yes, so you can export and save your schedule as a template. We also could share it with somebody else and save it as a CSV. So there's other options here that you can explore, but those are the two that I probably use the most. Then of course there's the great undo, redo buttons, discard changes, also very helpful and it's self-explanatory. And then there is a history here. So if you click that clock, let's say you do delete something, or it's been a few months. This happened once. Last fall, we had a situation where we thought something was set on a certain day, and we went back to the schedule and we're like, when did that change? You can scroll through here. It's not the most fun to scroll through, but you can find and see what happened when that happened. Okay, and then the last one I want to touch on, this is helpful. This button down here, it's really, really tiny. It looks like a calendar. Jump to today. This is super helpful. Let's say you're way off over here, and then we just want to see, okay, where are we at today in the lineup? You click there. This red line shows you today's date, and it jumps right along the game to that. And then over here is jump to list button. This isn't super helpful on this view right now on your computer screen, or you're on a phone and you'll spawn the graphic against. I wouldn't recommend doing it, but there are times when you just have to look at something right now. This button, you will love it. So what happens is this list here goes away. On the computer, that it scrolls away on the screen viewer. So all you see is this, and you need to jump back to the list. If you put this, you're back up. That helps. All right. So that's pretty much how you navigate through the list I will use. Now the more fun part is the different use cases for pickup duties. So there are list, ant, month, week, day, and availability used. The list view, I've done a screenshot here and blacked out some confidential information, but this is one way I use the list view for me personally. Every Friday, I'll go through and we'll have this is my in progress job task list, and it shows me across all jobs what are the tasks that are coming up and doing to make adjustments. It's just a nice little quick rule at a glance. So that's one example of a list view. The ant view, we just find order. So I'm going to skip through that one. The month view, this one I don't use as much, but it can be helpful depending on which situation. This particular view shows all of our lakefront crew tasks. So that's our in-house carpentry work. These are the tasks that our crews were scheduling them for, and it shows across all jobs. And once again, the information is grayed out, but it'll show the location. So which job are we on? And it can help you to see overlaps, or maybe where you need to fill some gaps with the schedule. So that's one example of month view. And week and day hues we don't use. Once again, it's this one, it comes down to more if you're scheduling hourly or quick turnaround jobs. You're going to want to definitely check those views out as well as that availability here. So one question I get asked a lot is how do we manage our daily crew schedule? Like, are we putting it in JobTread? Who's going where, what day, and what exactly are they doing? We really went back and forth with this, and JobTread definitely has the ability to do this. But as I mentioned, we put those lakefront crew tasks. We use that more of like to block off big chunks of work. Let's say framing or siding. And then what we have found works best with our crew is we have everybody on Google Workspace. So everybody have a Gmail, Drive, Mockup. So we use one specific Google Calendar called the Crew Calendar, and everybody has access to it. And Andrew and Mike, our project manager, they will set the schedules for the next week. So every Friday they'll go through this. And as you can see, they'll assign, we got night puncher, doctor. So they'll assign, like on this day, job B. Once again, I blocked out the name of the client, but so this is real actual calendar shots here. So they'll put the name of the job, who's going there, and then in the description of the calendar events, he'll put the targets for the day. So this is our way of setting daily and weekly targets to help meet the schedule goals of the job schedule and JobTread. And the reason we did it is we're finding that if we just put this big chunk, okay, we're going to do this framing for 2 weeks. Well, sometimes we would get near the end of 2 weeks and we wouldn't be where we want it to be. So it's important to set those weekly and daily targets so the guys know, hey, what are we aiming for here? And they were asking for it too. So we do really like this method and setup so far. All right. So what does this actually look like in real life? Because it all sounds good on paper until you put it in practice, right? So I wanted to go through this and walk through an actual example with a sample job. So there's basically, I guess I broke this down in 5 steps. So step 1 is the contract is signed. So you've got a signed contract, the customer was ready to go. The next step would be so I'm assuming the jobs are already set up in JobTread, right? So the next step is to import your template, adjust the dates, and set the baseline. So you're setting your schedule up. And we're going to try it out right now. So we go to the schedule tab. I'm calling this one Connect Custom Home. And there's nothing in here. So we're going to import from template, custom home, and we'll put start date today. I do not like to notify assignees very well because there's many adjustments that we'll be making in real life. We have a lot of adjustments needed to make from tailoring the job to the actual build because it's just a template, but there's some things I need to add. There's a couple things I need to take off. So that's just real life. And then normally I would grant assignees access to the job right away. But in this case, I'm going to toggle it off because this is not a real job. And I just don't want people to log in JobTread and say, what is this job now? What's Connect Custom Home? So import it. All right. And so it's brought in all of the tasks and the assignees that I have for my template. Okay, and now let's say I need to adjust some dates. For this example, this to be simple about it, I'll select all of them. So if you select the top group, it will select everything within it. And then likewise, we can also deselect certain groups like that. So if you want to do everything but one group. Or for this case, I'll just select everything to make it simple. And let's say I need to ship some groups and I need it to go 2 weeks out a little further. I'll just do 10 days. I have my schedule set so that it does not count the weekends as days. So 5 work days soon is what it's counting. And I'll add and move over. All right. And then I'm going to set the baseline before I get ready to notify everybody of where it's at. And how you do that, so you're going to select all tasks. Remember that top blue, we select all. And then set baseline to front. And then so it takes a little bit. So, and what that does, that's speaking more. The FaceTime, click on listen. Well, we there's the little break, and I have a shadow. And then this chain gets here, will be coolie for the big sun works. So that's why the sun works to never saw it. But okay. So let's go back to work good. So step 2 are done. Step 3 is sending notifications to your son. And that will list people who hurt me. So this shows the list of everybody who didn't sign it fast on them. And then we'll double check it. And then you would click this button, and then they will get one email that says all the tasks they're assigned to you and the dates that you asked that. So I'm not actually going to press that button again because they were getting more bad and we don't want that today. So, that. Okay, and then in step 4, the project begins. So there's obviously like that we're doing a night star. But notice that it is not the last step in the 5 steps. So the last step is reviewing and adjusting the schedule weekly. This is probably the most important step, and it must be repeated at regular intervals, whatever you determine that to be. For us, we would review and adjust weekly. And it's just so important and critical to do it regularly. Life happens. Nothing ever goes perfectly according to plan, and you're always needing to tweak and adjust things. So your schedule is only going to be as good as what you put into it. When you set it up in JobTread, it could look super pretty, but if you don't review it regularly, it's not going to be helpful to you. So, like I said before, we don't send notifications every single time we tweet. It's just as we determine, okay, now we will attempt to send these. So that's the basic process we follow for managing our job schedules. And I like to share, before we transition to ToDos, what our project manager, Mike, has had to say about it. So this is kind of funny because we were bringing Mike on right as we were beginning to work on JobTread and bring JobTread into scheduling. He is our assistant project manager, and he came with an AV project management background, but not home building experience. And this is what he said as we were onboarding him with his first home. I was like, how are you feeling about it? Look, I'm throwing a lot at you. And he said, now I feel like I actually have a handle on the entire build. Like I can see the whole thing because of what he kind of like is reflecting. It's like JobTread. It's just all laid out right there. I said, well, that's awesome. I got to tell the JobTread people that. But yeah, so it really, really helped him to get a handle on things because it was overwhelming to just jump in for the first time. So how are we doing, Casey? Are there any schedule questions I should maybe talk about before we move on to to-dos?
Yeah, so we have plenty of questions. Maybe while we're here, this may be actually a really great time for us to do this. So yeah, so uh Biwani, I think I'm saying it right. If I didn't, I'm so sorry. She actually asked, "How are you?" So this may be a broad question we could save to the end, but we can ask it here for now. How do you manage your administrative task, or do you manage those inside of JobTread or offsite?
That is a great question. So I think that will better be answered going through to-do lists. So I will touch on it.
Okay, we'll say that, and we'll come back to it.
Okay.
Okay, so Junior asked, "Do you have anything set up for recurring tasks within the business, or is everything related to a specific project?" So I'm guessing this is more like office management type stuff, or to-dos that aren't specifically linked to a job.
Yeah, so once again, I think to-dos will be helpful for junior. Is it junior? Uh, yeah, I think to-dos will be helpful for that. The schedule is really, I like to think of things in compartments. The schedule is really just the construction, the job construction, the actual building.
Hmm. I agree. Yeah. Kristen asked if you have your field workers using the scheduling tasks. Obviously, we're getting back into to-dos. She says, and to-dos to see what their weeks look like.
Yes, so they can view the schedule and then they really use the Google Calendar to see the nitty-gritty of what exactly is it the expected target for them for the week.
Yeah.
And they do use to-dos too, which I'll show it to.
Yeah. Chloe actually asked if you connected your Google Calendar to JobTread or just use it separately.
We prefer to keep it separate.
Do you want to explain maybe why, like what the choice was in terms of like what your thought process was?
Yeah, it felt like we thought about it a lot because we want JobTread, we want them to use it regularly, right? We want them to buy into it and that to be the main source of what they're looking for. But we also didn't want it to get messy and confusing and looking at too many different schedules and too many different places. So we tested the JobTread, putting it in JobTread at first, and we just decided to go separate.
Nice. Javier, you can clarify this. It's kind of a broad question, but Javier asked, how do you designate a template? Like what are your template designations or how many different templates you have? Maybe that's what he's asking.
Yeah, we just do a home template. It was just a custom home template, and we have a garage template that rarely gets used. We've pretty much found it's almost better just to do the home template for all projects, even if it's remodel, and then we take away what we don't need. But that way we don't have to worry about forgetting a task.
No, that's good. So you're going to get to do a little bit of training, a little bit of my job if you want to. Chris V asked, in your schedule, you have some items that are noted reminders or review and have an arrow in front of them. Is that a special task? And how do you do that?
Those are the new client tasks. So previously we did not give clients tasks in JobTread. It was just internal and trade partners. And we're trying that out because we set up a custom notification that associated with those tasks, just so that like before we order the flooring, they've already selected it a long time ago in the selections process, but 2 weeks before we order it, hey, just letting you know, we're going to be ordering the flooring. Let us know by next week if you have any changes. Then it's kind of like a double check that we don't have to think about. And yet we're still asking the question to make sure.
Yeah. So I obviously that's a great perspective. I think the next question is obviously going to be something, again, that we train with a lot and try to help people understand the difference. But how would you explain to Javier, who asked our question just a second ago, how you utilize the checklists within each one of your tasks versus a to-do?
We've gotten away from a lot of checklists now that the to-dos were rolled out. We use checklists a lot over in the to-dos area, not as much in the schedule. But I guess it would be if I can't think of one offhand that we have anymore with checklists, but it would be if you have three steps that need to be completed to consider a task complete. I guess I would use a checklist.
Yeah. So the way that I would explain it to anybody is that if you're doing a task, and for instance, if it's like a design task and you have several different items that are part of that design phase, you could just have a task, which is your sort of design process. And rather than creating 4 different tasks, you could create a checklist. And a lot of people like percentages in terms of understanding how done something is. You could give a bit of an idea by creating a checklist within that design task so that as you check off each one of those checklist items, you can see sort of as a percentage how far along in that one task you are. So that's the way we would differentiate that. So, but yeah, obviously there's different ways to get to the same sort of information. So Wes, this is again, maybe, Wes, we'll get to that question whenever we get back to to-dos, I think. Okay, so Ashley has shared, you did share your template, right? You shared some templates on the Facebook page?
Yes, they're on the Facebook page, and I will also have my contact info at the end if you want to reach out, and I'm happy to share that.
Okay, great. Yeah, Derek asked about if you could export those. So yeah, she'll do that at the end. The rest of the questions that we have, I kind of feel like are good questions for the end, but also to-do questions. So I'm going to let you go ahead and roll over to to-dos.
Okay. Sounds great. All right, so let's go on the to-do side. The components of a to-do are very much the same. So I'm going to kind of buzz through this. You have the drawer off to the right, just like tasks. The main difference, well, first of all, I'm going to re-highlight your element pointer. Use your description fields. I feel like I can't say that enough to just put in your processes. This helps you not have to remember later or worry that you forgot. And it helps you as you grow, like we're hiring office. We have a new office coordinator starting next week. I feel like I can pass so much of this off very easily because these are all totally broken down here. So that said, the only other main difference is it just has a due date. There's not like a duration, a start and an end. So you have due dates here. There's not dependencies like with the tasks, but otherwise everything else is pretty much the same. And much like the tasks and the schedule, they have groups. And this is a screenshot from our sales process, which I'll go over shortly. But they're all nested in groups, just like the schedule. And then similar to the schedule, there's navigation. They're pretty much all the same. There's not like a paper aircon button. I love that one. But yeah, that's pretty self-explanatory as well. So this is the part I think everybody wants to see. So how are we using to-dos with jobs? So we use to-dos with jobs, and then we also use it as a company level too, for more of the admin, non-job related tasks. So this first one is our sales process. And I'm not sure why I'm caught it up to support, but I have to scroll down a little bit and then it'll generate my groups. So this is a template that I've dropped in. Actually, this is going to cost catalog right now. To my catalog. So this is the group. So I'll drop this template into every new job. So I have a job of special request list, which I talked about more. And then the pre-construction process. to use. And just gonna collapse this to get an overview of my process. So this is the main group, and then I have this is all the steps from that first email inquiry or phone call all the way to contract signing. So these are all the things that we need to do. And here I do the last checklist. So if that's scroll down, you'll see a discovery call was it has to touch on during that call. And I have links to Google documents as well. I have that we want templates and response templates, things like that, just so I'm not having to rethink every email I'm sending all of my processes. Again, it's just quick, repeatable, and making sure I'm doing a thorough job. So, and then I'm not going to go through all of it in super detail, but there are budget meetings, the down, up to selections. I like to show this one because we break it down week by week. Or I can see the overview. Like every week, there's a set of tasks to do and work. So that's how I use a skills process checklist with to-dos. Another way we use to-dos is what change order lists. I have a screenshot blurred. So this is connect change orders. This was a job I created to play around with because I'm making it either a set templated list of my catalog, because we find that these are the things that often get adjusted on new custom homes. There's many other things that we could add as they come up with clients change their mind, but these are typical adjustments that we need to watch out for. So I actually save those as a template so we don't forget about them. We'll run the rest we're going to go. And oops, let's see. Yeah, and then this is a real job here, a bathroom remodel. I've got 2 things waiting to some of those. I haven't done it yet. And it's not shown on this screenshot, but a different job I have. We're in the final stages, so a lot of these things are checked off. And it's nice to, sometimes it's like, did I do that change order? You know, you can look back, but it's just nice to see other homes. Oh yeah, yep, took care of it, done. So the change order list is one I review every Friday, as well as I'm making my list, my own personal office to-do list that for the next week. It just helps me look at these at a glance and think, is there something I need to be working on? Job issues list. That is one type of list we assign to every job we have going. As you can see, some of these jobs don't have anything shown on here. That's great, but we just like to start the list so it's available at any time for somebody to add an item to it. For instance, this was a real example of why we started, because we had a job where windows were delivered and they were being installed. They noticed that there was a scuff or something from the factory, but they put the window in anyway because it was going to be a while before the rep could put them out at. It didn't get on a list anywhere. Somebody told my husband on a job, and we all know that when somebody mentions something, you know, you're still working and you get a lot going on. It doesn't always make it back to the office. So as we were wrapping up the job, then it came up again. We had to call the rep, delayed the closing of the job, and all this. All of it could have been avoided if way back 6 months prior. We had something like a list put in front of us that we were regularly looking. So the job issues list, these also get reviewed every Friday morning when management meets. And okay, is there anything we need to be working on? Or maybe there's nothing we need to do at the moment, but just so it's at the forefront as we're just regularly thinking about it. So when we get to the end of a project, it doesn't draw the project out. Okay. So then we have to-do lists. These are the crew has, like our carpenters, they have access to this all the time. And basically, it is a running punch list from the beginning of the job to the end of the job. It becomes the punch list at the end of the job. So this one right here, this last one, it's quite long. That job is just about finished. So, and you can see how it grows, but we, we try to keep up on these things so that when we get to the end, we can just close out, kind of like those job issues lists. The issues are the bigger, like the warranty type issues. This is more like the little things that need to be done. The little things, it seems like, oh, that won't take long. But when you have a bunch of them at the end, it really adds up. All right. And then we have warranty to-do lists. That's another type. My father-in-law actually works as our part-time warranty carpenter, and he uses JobTread. So as the job is wrapping up, I set up a warranty schedule, and our warranty was 2 years. So we have 3 calls scheduled at 6 months, 12 months, and then 4 weeks before expiration, just automatically in here. Sometimes we're communicating with the client in between that, or they'll come to us. But if we haven't heard from them, we still want to make the call and just check in, make sure they're happy with everything. So this is just a nice reminder for us. And lastly, I mentioned the job special request list. We're still trying this one out. I'll let you know how it goes. We had a situation with the job last fall where we were where the plumber had installed, we're wrapped in with the washer and the dryer. And the client was like, oh, we saw the picture of this in the daily log, which is great. But the washer and dryer are not flipped like we had asked. They wanted the reverse, not the washer on the right and the dryer on the left. And we were like, when did that? We thought we remembered a conversation. We looked back in our notes. We didn't see anything. And it turns out we did talk about it in the meeting. Somehow it was overlooked. So we just thought we try this list going throughout our pre-construction process, just for little odd things that may come up that we might want to remember, that we should remember later with long. Obviously, that change with the washer dryer should have been documented on the plans, but it happened after it was finalized. So it's just kind of a way to catch those odd things. I don't know. We'll see how it works, but we thought we try something new, because we don't whenever something slips through the cracks like that, we always want to know how we can do better. Okay, so that's using to-dos with jobs. Now at a company level, and I think this is where a lot of you have a lot of questions. So every Friday morning, my husband Andrew and I meet, and we go over all the in-progress jobs, all the sales pipeline, those working with design, wherever they are in the sales process. We go over all the jobs, and we come up with our own weekly lists. So I'll show you what Andrew's looks like. So I had a personal view set up here called we review to-dos, and then as we run along, we'll put things on Andrew's list and my list. And that this helps because Andrew's in the field as well as in the office, so it really helps him focus and maximize his time when he does have office time, because sometimes it can feel like you sit down and you don't even know what to start on, or you have 30 minutes. What's the best way to maximize that time? So this does help him with that. So we do utilize the checklist for this, as you can see here. I put an initial to the list so we don't have client names, the employee names and things somewhere. But nobody can see it. This is only an admin privilege that Andrew and I have admins, we see each other's list. But we have a weekly task list, and then we decided to come up with a Sunday task list for Andrew because if everything goes on a weekly task list, it's very overwhelming quickly. So, I have a weekly list here. I actually don't use this system anymore, really, which I'll talk about it. I'll talk about it in a minute. So also we use lists to delegate to our assistants. We have a part-time assistant that started last fall. So I've been using lists when person's done. Now we have a new assistant coming on. So this one is a view where I call projects for Michelle, and it shows all tasks assigned to Michelle. And like I have a W9s list. There's 1 out of 3 that we have done with 2 more. She completed this project. She's working on this one. Let's see, this documenting our processes. I've described the project for her. And let's see, another one. Here's another job I gave her for hitting job site signs. More extensive checklist that uploaded a couple files of our old signs for her to reference. So yeah, it's helpful because sometimes she does some work at home too, so she can just read this and work on it as she has time. And then you can also use lists for like end of year tasks or things that need to be completed around the calendar work. Maybe it's for tax prep or year end. And here's what I used last year. So like the final payroll of the year, and expand. And here's all the things to do. Another good one, health insurance, open enrollment bonuses, simple IRA notices, Christmas tasks, Christmas party. So you can do all of that in JobTread as well. So as I mentioned, I don't use this for my ToDos anymore. I was finding that with like work life, kids, having 4 kids and all the sports, and like I'm a part of, some community, boards and things. It was just there are too many things. So how do I bring it all together? I attended a webinar that they brought this book up, Getting Things Done by David Allen, and the Todoist app. I don't know if I'm supposed to say this because it's JobTread, but maybe you want to check this out.
That's all the time we have for today. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. I'm just kidding.
Okay, yeah. So I feel like I'd be doing a disservice because I'm not using it currently just because my lists were not like robust enough for my life. But I've told a few people about this and they have really appreciated it. So I just wanted to share it with you guys. JobTread works great for my husband. He's not a listy guy. He just has lists for work. It's great. But if you have a lot that you're trying to manage, maybe you want to check that book out. But yeah. And I'm not going to go too in depth with this, but the question does come up, who can see what with all of these to-dos and scheduling? Just know that you can explore your permission settings and they, have the people you want to see things, you can change it. So it's totally workable. You can contact your customer success manager and they can make sure that you have your settings done right. So yeah, I feel like I talked a lot and we're like at 2:04. So hopefully you are able to come up with one thing you can do next week to improve your scheduling and your company processes with some of these ideas. And I just want to say, just take it one step at a time. Don't feel like you have to rush. And if you don't have any of the scheduling stuff down, just what's the next thing we need to do? Pick one thing, because I did not do that. And it was extremely stressful, but that's just the way I am. I like to jump in and get it all done. But yeah, just take it one chunk at a time.